Hey yo, it's Retro. Welcome to another video. So I have talked about Superman a lot, and I have maybe like one more video in me, maybe two more after today. As you can see by the title, as you can see by the thumbnail, we're talking about Superman Origins, and as you may know, or if you don't, there are a lot. I mean, a lot of Superman Origins. It took me a while to get through all of these amidst reading all of the Superman stuff that I've been reading. I literally just went through early thousands Superman stuff, the City of Tomorrow era. I went through the Kurt Busiek and Jeff Johns era. I read New 52 a while ago. I read Rebirth. I caught up on Joshua Williamson's Superman run. I read PKJ's Action Comics run. I finished it. I read a lot of PKJ stuff up until Warworld, and then I finished it recently. I read Superman Space Age. I've read so many comics. I'm reading the old stuff. I went to the 80s, the 70s. I read Denny O'Neil's Kryptonite No More. I've read a lot. I've read a lot of Superman comics in the last like 5 months, and I think I'm done. I even read the Man of Steel era, the John Byrne, post-John Byrne, New Origin, the post-Crisis era. I read that too, and I've read a lot. I think I am almost done. I think. Let's just say this one was something that like I really wanted to do because I wanted to reread Superman Birthright, which has always been my favorite Superman origin. I was like, you know what? Let me go and read other origins as well. I reread Man of Steel. I read Man and Superman for the first time. I read Secret Origin again, maybe for the third, fourth time. I can't remember. I read For All Seasons, and I read Superman Secret Years. I've come to a conclusion, and I'll talk about that later. But, you know, let's get into it. Like, subscribe, all of that. Let me know in the comment section what y'all favorite Superman origin is. And let's start with probably the most popular one, the one that everybody references, the one that kind of started, in my opinion, probably the reason why there's so many Superman origins. Man of Steel by John Byrne and Dick Giordano. Fuck John Byrne. Yeah, I had to get that out of my system just because I knew it was bad. I knew Man of Steel was bad. I always knew Man of Steel was bad because I remember when I first read it and I was like, what the fuck is this? Even as a kid, I don't think I really liked it. It was very weirdly written, to me at least. And I know a lot of people love this one. This is the most popular Superman origin, probably outside of Superman's Secret Origin and Birthright. It's the most popular one because it's the post-crisis defining Superman origin out there. And it is genuinely a spit in the face to Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, a spit in the face to all the years of Superman being tied to Krypton heritage, all the years of Kryptonian heritage being important to Superman, all the years of Superman being a symbol of immigration and being the champion of the oppressed. It's a huge spit in the face. Why? Because Superman is an immigrant. I don't care what John Byrne believes or anything like that. Superman was not born on Earth. The whole point of Superman, and this isn't necessarily about like what is right, what came first, and none of that. No. It's necessarily about Superman as a character, what he's supposed to represent. Superman was not born on Earth. He was born on Krypton. And that is important, because it doesn't make any sense that Superman claims being American, claims being a human being when he's not. He was born on Krypton. He is supposed to be an immigrant. He's supposed to be a symbol of people that come to America and wanting to have a better life for themselves and wanting to be more than what they could have been in their past country. He is a symbol for all of the people that escape their horrible countries, that come to America and try to have a better life for themselves. He is a symbol for all of the downtrodden. He's a symbol for the oppressed. He's a champion of the oppressed. He's supposed to be the man that is to usher in a better tomorrow. I know up until recently it was true justice and the American way, and that was really just because, look, everybody understood what the American way was up until a few years ago. The American way was not supposed to be literally how America was. It was supposed to be how America was supposed to be. So now they changed it to a better tomorrow. And honestly, thank God, because that is a much better tagline for Superman anyway. It makes him feel a lot more interchangeable between cultures. Man of Steel takes all of that, spits it in your face and says, no, Superman is American. which makes no sense because I'm pretty sure John Byrne is fucking British. So I don't know what he was trying to think, trying to make Superman American. I don't care. He's not a horrible person. I don't think he's a horrible person. I don't know about John Byrne too much outside of the fact that he erased this crucial part of Superman for so many years. I read the Man of Steel era after this, and it was just a lot of, I don't even know how to explain it, because like I think the best way to explain it is Wonder Woman by George Perez is an amazing redefinition of Wonder Woman for the modern age. It completely understands who Wonder Woman is supposed to be and keeps that character intact, and for years is an amazing title. It treats Wonder Woman as an agent of peace. Batman Year One does the same thing. Redefines Batman for the modern era, turns him into a pulp detective that, you know, shapes the character for who he is now. Batman Year One is such a simple fucking story, and it's really just Batman dismantling the Gotham elites for 4 issues. Like, that's all Batman Year One is, and also dismantling the corrupt police department in Gotham. Like, that's it. So to have those two very progressive comics, very progressive, very political comics, and then to have Man of Steel be very right-winged, very like Republican coded, very patriotic. I hate it. I fucking hate it. It is absolutely the worst, one of the worst Superman comics ever, but definitely the worst Superman origin ever. If you don't agree with me, I don't care. Genuinely don't care. You're probably a right-wing bitch anyway. That's it. I ran too long talking about it, so I'm gonna go on to the next one. I'm gonna kind of go in order as they come. I did miss Secret Years, so I'll talk about Secret Years. Superman Secret Years is a very interesting origin story. I wouldn't say it's more so an origin story than it is like a Superman Year 2 sort of, but it's very good. It is really good for especially for the time that it came out. Unfortunately, you can't find this comic legitimately anywhere. You have to really look, but it is it's in the 80s. It's basically like a look at Superman's college years, and of course this does have the golden/silver age origin of Superman intact, where he was Superboy. Basically, he was Superboy, and he did hang out with the Legion of Superheroes for quite a time. This is a very interesting look at Superman during his college years. It's good. Like, it's decent. It's not something that I am crazy about. I don't really care for the Legion of Superheroes as a comic fan. Like, it's nice that Superman was a superhero as a kid. It does show that, like, obviously he was not that he was meant to be a superhero, but it does show that, like, initiative to go out and help people. So it does make sense. I do like that aspect of it, but it's not amazing. It's not amazingly written. I think it's a really good origin. If you want a Superman origin that's very different, that is not what you expect, I guess, this is the one. It deals with a lot of college conflict. Really good stuff. I'm not a biggest fan of it, but it was very educational when I read it. I was very surprised by it. I will say that. Going on to the next one, I am going a little bit chronologically as far as when they came out. So the next one's going to be Superman for All Seasons. Superman for All Seasons by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale is the most unique Superman origin, I think. I know I said that for Secret Years, but I think this one of the most popular Superman origins, Superman for All Seasons is the most unique, and I say that because of the way it is written. Superman for All Seasons mostly chronicles the first year or so of Superman in Metropolis and his trials and tribulations as Superman, and the pushback that he kind of gets as Superman, and the issues that he kind of runs into. The most unique part about it is the way that it is narrated. I genuinely love the fact that, like, every issue is narrated by someone else. The first issue was narrated by Pa Kent. It really showcases his perspective as being hopeless as a father, not really knowing how to steer Clark Kent because he is so much bigger than Pa Kent could ever be. He doesn't know if he's enough of a father to really steer Clark. And then issue 2 is narrated by Lois Lane. It's her perspective of being very skeptical of this of Superman, his motive, but also still being a little hopeful. She doesn't steer into the hysteria of what Superman could do as a superpowered, hero, I guess, where he could eventually turn, but she is wondering, like, what's the end game, I guess. And that's very interesting. I do like that kind of look into Superman as a character. The third issue is narrated by Lex Luthor, and this Lex Luthor is very much the post-crisis version of Lex Luthor, so he is more business mogul. One of the only things Man of Steel does well, going back to John Byrne, one of the best things Man of Steel does well is redefine Lex Luthor. Really, this does have that Lex Luthor, that version of Lex Luthor in it, and I love it because it's Lex Luthor basically saying that this story is a love story between Lex Luthor and Metropolis, and how Lex Luthor loves Metropolis and wants to be the best in Metropolis ever. Very Lex Luthor code, very narcissistic, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's good. It's a very good issue, probably my favorite issue in For All Seasons. Then you have the final issue narrated by Lana Lang. This origin focuses a lot on Smallville and where Clark comes from. Now I know I said that it chronicles Superman's first year in Metropolis, but it does put a huge emphasis on Smallville and how much that is important to Superman. As a fan of Superman, like, I appreciate Smallville and like its importance in Superman's like life, but I will be the first one to tell you that I don't really care about Smallville. I'm a fan of Superman post Smallville in Metropolis. I like him as a reporter. That's just my personal like bias. Not to say that like For All Seasons is bad because it has that. I think if you really love, you know, that aspect of Superman, seeing how important Smallville is to Superman and how it kind of keeps him grounded still while he's in Metropolis, and how Smallville feels like a place where Superman can always come back to, I think it's very good for that. If you really like Smallville in that aspect, you will like this origin a lot. For me personally, I don't think it's the strongest origin. I think that it gives you a really good look at the people in Superman's life, but I don't think it's I don't think as a standalone origin it is a good one or a really good one. I think it's a pretty good story, sort of. Even then, I didn't even talk about that. There isn't really like a story here. It's like following Superman. It's just following Superman and the things that he does. But yeah, it's very much, like I said, it's chronicling Superman's first year in Metropolis through the lens of the most important people in his lives. And I think it's very good for that. So moving forward, the next three are the best origins for Superman, bar none. The first one's gonna be Man and Superman by Marv Wolfman. For a writer who was writing during the 90s, who had some of the better story ideas during that post-crisis era of Superman, I will say this is probably Marv Wolfman's best work. It is kind of unfortunate though, because it still is outshined by the next two that I'm going to talk about. But Man and Superman is a great Superman origin, and it is exactly what I envisioned for a Superman origin. Because I think when people want origin stories, or I feel like when people talk about origin stories, like, they want everything. They want from the time the character was born up until he becomes a superhero. And for me, like, I'm very much of the camp of like, I don't need all that. I just need his first year. I just need the time that he like suits up for the first time up until when he realizes how to really like, you know, maneuver around. On its own, like, it is one of the best Superman stories ever because it truly leans into the reporter aspect of it. It's very reminiscent of the New 52 Superman origin, and I wouldn't be surprised if Grant Morrison took a lot of, you know, notes from this one, because it does feel very similar in where Superman immediately leaves Kansas, goes to Metropolis to find this apartment that's kind of run down but very cheap, immediately goes to the Daily Planet, tries to get a job there, kind of gets rejected, but then shows his stuff and ends up getting a chance by Perry White. This is phenomenal building blocks for Metropolis. Superman's want to stay here is amazing. I'm gonna show it up on the screen right now, but it's Lois. Like, he will at first questioning whether he should stay or not, and then he sees Lois again and he's like, I think I'm gonna stay. I think I kind of want that. I want her bad. Superman's a real yearner, and I get it. It's a really good Superman origin. It's 100 pages, I believe. It was originally in that Superman 100-page spectacular from years ago. Yeah, it's weird that a lot of writers' best Superman stories are his origins. I do kind of wish Marv Wolfman had a second chance at writing Superman though, because it made me even more mad that Man of Steel was the origin that DC decided to go with, because I feel like if Marv Wolfman was the one to spearhead post-crisis Superman, it would have been a lot better. But it is what it is. Man and Superman is great. It does unfortunately get outshined a little bit, but I can see why a lot of people love this one the most. Definitely 100%. Next, I have Secret Origin, Superman Secret Origin by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. This is basically if the Christopher Reeves movie had a Legion of Superheroes segment in the movie. That's basically what Secret Origin is, and it's great. I know I was just saying earlier that I don't really care for the origins that start like from the very beginning up until the end. All I need to see from an origin story to like check off is that Superman was born in Krypton, was rocketed down to Earth, and I just need that segment like sped up really quickly, and then we fast forward to Metropolis. That's usually what all I need. But Secret Origin is the most fleshed out origin for Superman, for Smallville, and even for Metropolis. It's very strange how long it is, but it doesn't really feel like that, honestly, when reading it. I like it a lot. I think it's written very well. I think it captures all aspects of Superman's life very well. If you want like a very complete origin story for Superman, you can read this. You get everything that happens from the beginning to basically the start of his first year in Metropolis. This is where you go. This is what you read. It's not my favorite. It reinvigorates the origin of, it's not origin, but it reinvigorates the idea that Superman does go with the Legion of Superheroes as a boy to be a superhero in the future. It's great. It's very well written. I can see why this is everybody's favorite because it is the most conventional origin story. And if you want to know everything, I know a lot of people who aren't fans of comics that want to get into comics feel like they need to know everything about a character to genuinely understand, to genuinely enjoy the stories. You don't. You just need to read the start of a story, really. A lot of these characters aren't that confusing. They're not that complicated. This is one of those ones where you give that person, if you know somebody that is like, I want to know everything about Superman, his first year being Superman, or like you want to know the full origin, give this to them. They will be satisfied, and they probably will continue to read Superman, or maybe not, who knows, but I hope they do. But yeah, this is definitely like the most complete, the most fleshed out one for sure. I do like this one a fair bit, but it's not my favorite. And counting down a little bit to, this is my favorite one. When I first read it, I immediately was like, this is the one. When I reread it, I was like, this is the one. I read it again recently, and I was like, this is the one. Like, there aren't too many Superman comics better than this to begin with, let alone there being an origin story that's better than this. So Superman Birthright by Mark Waid and Lionel Francis Yu. Oh, how the legends have fallen. Mark Waid, man. I used to be a big fan of Mark Waid. Lately, his comics have been so boring, so like lazy. When I read this recently, it pissed me off because I was like, God damn it. Where did this go? Where did this juice go? Where did this excellence go? Where did this brilliance go? Superman Birthright is written like a movie, but not in the way where like a comic book that reads like a movie feels a little bit like disappointing because you're like, dang, like doesn't have any of the components that make you go like, oh yeah, this definitely should be a comic. No. This feels like a movie because of the pacing, but also because of like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, Superman Birthright is fucking amazing. It's the perfect Superman origin for my money. Does it capture everything about Superman? No, but you get it. You know he came from Smallville and went to Metropolis. You know he became a reporter. You know he wants to be a reporter. It kind of does throw you into it when he's 25 years old trying to make a name for himself as a reporter across the world. And then he comes to Metropolis to really make a name for himself. It shows why he has been hesitant to use his power so much, but still wanting to use it and still does use it to protect people. It showcases his love for Metropolis. It showcases Lex Luthor's character phenomenally. Like, this is the best version of Lex Luthor ever. The origin of Lex Luthor, this is the best one. There's a huge emphasis on the newspaper. Like, there are pages where it starts with the newspaper, I'm gonna put on the screen, but like it has the newspaper as the top half of the screen, and then the rest is comic book panels. It's like, that's how you integrate like dope artistry into comics. That's how you make a comic book feel like it can't be replicated. You can't make this into a movie. You can't, because it's not gonna look the same. It's just not gonna look the same. You gotta do it differently. And that's the very essence of comic books. That's the very essence of writing, drawing, and creating comics. To do something that's so very different that like no other medium can truly do. You can't do that in a book. You can't do that in a movie. You can't do that in a TV show. Superman Birthright, a comic that truly understands Clark Kent's heritage, how important it is to him, what it means, and truly what it means to be Superman. I love it. It's extraordinary. And Lionel Francis Yu's art is phenomenal. It's so fucking good. I love Lionel Francis Yu, one of the best artists ever. And this is one of those ones. I know it's kind of different. Like, it's not a conventional art style. Superman doesn't look the way you expect him to look. He's not like chiseled and like brolic and all that kind of stuff. He doesn't look like a strong man, really. He is big, but he's not like, I don't know how to explain it. Lionel Francis Yu's art is very different. I wouldn't say it's an acquired taste, but it's a very unique art style. There's a reason why he is so popular as an artist. This story, this fucking origin showcases that the best. This is the best origin ever. I can talk about it all fucking day. I love this comic. I can read it 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and every single time I'll be like, damn, this is fucking amazing. Every single time. There are not that many comics that I can read I can read several times over and have that same reaction as I did when I first read them. This is one of them. I don't know what happened to Mark Waid's writing ability. I'm not saying that he's a bad writer right now, but he's definitely not as interesting as he was when he wrote this. Hot take maybe, I don't really care. Like, that's my opinion on Mark Waid. This is some of his best work ever. And yeah, I love this. I love this so much, bro. I love this. So yeah, that's all of the Superman origins out there. There's so many. And I think it's time to just accept that Superman Birthright is the best one. Oh, there is another one. I was kind of going to touch on it a little bit, but you also have New 52 Superman, which, if you want to know more about this version of Superman, I have it linked below. I did talk about it in my New 52 Superman retrospective. Check it out, link below. But outside of that one is also a really good origin. I do think it's not as cohesive. I don't know how to really like display it, but like it's very well written origin, one of the best Superman origins ever. I think you can use this origin like pretty much whenever. It's not just relegated to New 52 Superman. Genuinely does feel like it is timeless, honestly. Grant Morrison's version of Brainiac and Metallo are amazing. Very good origin for Superman as well. Another one I was going to talk about, which is not really an origin, but it's more like a year 2 for Superman. If you want like another introductory Superman story, Superman Kryptonite by Darwin Cook and Tim Sale. This one pairs very well with Secret Origin more so, and it pairs like as a very good second like double feature if you read Secret Origin and go into Kryptonite, or if you read Man of Superman and Superman and go into Kryptonite. It doesn't really work with Superman Birthright because Lex Luthor did know about Kryptonite and Superman has experienced the effects of Kryptonite 4. So it doesn't really make any sense, because Superman Kryptonite is more so Superman finding out that he does have a weakness, and he's been saving people and doing all these things without really understanding like what his challenges are, what his weaknesses are, but he keeps pushing and pushing to really find out those boundaries and those limits. Birthright, it doesn't allow that, but I mean, I'm not gonna say that you can't read it afterwards, because it's still a great story. It's still a great comic. One of the most underrated Superman stories ever. Beautifully drawn too. Tim Sale's art is at its peak. Rest in peace to him as well. Darwin Cook writing, like how often do you get that? You don't. So very good. Like it's sort of like a year 2. I think it's 2 months after Superman has been settled in Metropolis. You do get the sense that like this is it's a little bit more seasoned Superman. He's missing the fact that Kryptonite is his weakness, and he learns about it in this story. And he also learns about his heritage as well. So that's another thing. That's also why I think Superman Birthright doesn't necessarily work if you're trying to read like a year 1 and a year 2 Birthright, and then Kryptonite doesn't really make any sense. They do conflict with each other. But as far as 2 stories that are really great on their own, definitely those 2 really great early year stories for Superman. But yeah, that's it. Very passionate about Superman Birthright, one of my favorite Superman books ever. I know it's kind of basic, but like I genuinely feel that way. It's one of the origins that I have always felt is the origin to go to. So again, like, subscribe, comment what your favorite Superman origin is, and I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace.